Hello everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna. I'm an acrylic artist. I just want to say thank you so much for stopping in today. If you are new to my YouTube channel, I do acrylic painting in any form and I love it. I love to teach you. I want to encourage you. I want to make you see the artist in you. Just pick up a paintbrush and go, go, go. That's what I want to do right here on my channel. So if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are not subscribed, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button. And if at any point during this video you are enjoying it, please give me a thumbs up. All right, so today we're going to be painting this fun kind of old-fashioned type of painting, which I have titled Triple Scoop. Now with this one, it just was, for me, I was inspired by old-fashioned signs that I had seen. And so I thought it would be fun to do a triple scoop, you know, with your strawberry, your chocolate, and your vanilla ice cream, and just have fun with it. You can certainly change this up, make whatever flavor of ice cream you want, put chocolate chips in it, put caramel in it, strawberries in your pink, or have it all sherbet ice cream. I don't know. It's your ice cream. But I'm going to show you how I did this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Easy techniques, I think, with this one. And I'm going to be using Deco Art Americana acrylic paints. You can use whatever paints that you have on hand. So let's grab our paints and supplies and let's get painting. Okay, let's begin this project. I've got an 8x10 canvas panel here. All I've done is applied 2 coats of lamp black to the surface. Now if you're working on a wood surface, you'll want to apply a coat of multi-purpose sealer first and then your lamp black, lightly sand it, and then get your lines on here. It's a very easy prep for this one. We're going to paint one thing in at a time, which is not what I normally do when I paint. I generally get all my base coats in and then go from there. But this time I'm going to work a little bit different. We're going to start on the cone part. And because we're painting on black, it's going to take a couple of coats to cover up that dark color, especially when we get to the hand. Because the hand is such a lighter color. So we're starting out with our mid value here. And right now it looks kind of orangey because that black that is on here. But when we get our next layer on, and in some places it may require 3 coats. I'm thinking on the hands we're definitely going to have to do 3 coats. There's just going to be no way around it. The flesh colors tend to be a little bit more difficult to get opaque coverage in just a couple of coats. So we're going to work one area at a time. I'm using a 12 flat brush here. Let's see, I missed a line right here. Fingertip. Let's get that on there so I don't accidentally paint my finger too short. You can go to a smaller brush for these smaller areas here. We'll dry each layer as we go here. I think this will be a great, fun summer painting. Just something different. You don't have to be so structured all the time. Paint the same thing. I mean, unless that's what you like to paint. If you like to paint flowers all the time, then go for it. I like to mix it up and learn lots of different things. So we're going to get this dry and go ahead and add our second layer on here. I'm going to spritz my palette with my water so that I have that. Let's make sure we're dry and not hot. And then we'll go in with our second coat. Again, this is our mid value.
Don't worry about getting it on your ice cream or on your fingers too much, because, you know, we haven't put any paint on those yet, so we can fix any place. I want to make sure that I keep my line here where the cone wraps around itself. Try and keep this a easier project. I don't like for people to get overwhelmed with painting. Painting should be relaxing and just very, very enjoyable. So if you are getting stressed out in any way, you just need to walk away. Just walk away. Come back to it. Give yourself and the painting a break. Trust me, I know when I first started painting, I got frustrated when something didn't work the way I wanted it or look the way I wanted it. So make sure I get my little flat edge right there on the cone. And I'll fix that shape when I come in with my skin color. Okay, that looks pretty good for a base coat for our cone. So we're going to get this dry and move on to adding details to our cone. Okay, so the line drawing has just some very light indication lines of putting some waffle stuff on your cone. You can transfer this on, or just take a white pencil and give some indication of some lines on here. You know, we're going to do some dry brushing on here, so okay, so they can look however you want them to look. I mean, they don't have to be perfect by any means. These can be more straight down here. Actually, they would look a little bit better if we did make these down here a little more straight, as opposed to what I have drawn on the, make sure I don't erase my lines for my fingers. I think it would make it look a little bit more realistic if we did the lines down. I know the line drawing has them going at an angle, and you can certainly keep them at an angle if you wish to. I think I'm going to make these kind of going this direction so we can have a little bit of difference right there. Okay, so our waffle cone's not all going the same direction there. Alright, so we're going to dry brush onto here and create, I hope, the look of a waffle cone. We shall see. Alright, I'm using a light color on here. And I'm gonna grab just a, probably just a flat brush. This is a 6 flat. I'm gonna use it dry because I do want to do a dry brushing on here and not so much painting. So I'm going to load the brush and then tap off, especially off of that tip. And we're just going to dry brush where those lines are. Don't worry about getting in your ice cream. We haven't painted that yet, so we don't have to worry about it. Try and keep my lines going at the same angle here. That's always helpful. So we're getting a good one there. Alright, let's go down and do these. I'm up on the chisel edge of this brush, just letting it skim down my painting. Okay, we're just creating the look of a waffle. sure my lines are not, they are not the same distance apart, so if that's something you need, I just freehanded this, so you know, you can measure. I'm not going to worry about measuring. It's not that important to me. I'm just going for that look. I'm going for quick, easy, but you still get the look. You know, painting is all about what you can get someone to believe that they're seeing. So I'm going to erase my lines on here in case I didn't cover them up. Don't erase your lines for your hand. Brush that away. We're going to put a little dark in here now with a little bit darker color. We're going to put that kind of inside those little squares and rectangles that we just made. I'm going to use the same brush, but I'm going to get as much of the moisture out of it as possible so we can still do a dry brushing technique. I'm going to load a little bit of paint up on this brush, tap, tap, tap to remove any off the tip, and we're just going to dry brush in these rectangles or squares, whatever they are. Give them a little bit more depth looking. We'll probably have to do this a couple of times, I think. I want you to do very light dry brushing here. I don't want you to, you know, get heavy-handed. It's better to come back and apply a second coat than to try and get the look you want with the first one. Okay? I'm loading, wiping off, using the tip of the brush, just lightly skimming it inside these square or rectangle shapes, whatever it happens to be that you have painted. I've painted a little bit of both. Some are square, some are rectangle. But it'll all be good. It'll all be good. Inside. Okay, we did that once. I am going to repeat that. And make some of them darker. You don't have to do them all on the second go around here. Just kind of pick some and do a few. Okay, so we've got some nice little, I think, waffle cone looking stuff going on. I think that looks pretty good. All right, we're going to get ready to do some shading on here, and then we'll do a little pop of highlight. Okay, I'm just going to use that flat brush that I used to base coat in with, and I'm going to take my milk chocolate, which is what I just dry brushed in my little square rectangle things. And I'm going to use this as my initial shading color. It probably won't be dark enough, but we can darken it. And we're going to first create our little section here. Separation. We're going to go around the outer edges of the cone so we can give it some form. We'll go around our finger here and down the side. Not using a lot of paint. Less is always more. We can come back and add, but we can't take it away, so always be easy. We're going to go around this finger. Around this finger. I'm not going on the top edge. I'm just staying on the bottom part of the finger. And up our edges. Okay, we also want to go underneath where the ice cream is. Go ahead and get that shading done on here. We'll be coming in and adding probably some melted ice cream on here, coming down the cone, so we'll shade around that when we are done adding it. But for now, we're just creating our initial shading of color. This is our first shading. We are going to darken it and then add some highlights. Okay, let me zoom in just a little bit. We're going to darken just a little bit in a few places, not everywhere. Okay, we're going to take our milk chocolate and a tiny little bit of soft black to just barely darken that milk chocolate. Let me scoot this over so you can see it. So this is our original value, and we are slightly, I mean just slightly, darkening that. Okay, we're going to create some dark values in here. So just a few areas, not everywhere. Create a little bit more shadow. That's going to give that a little bit more lift. A little bit shadow around things. Maybe a little bit down the edge just to give it that little bit more of a rounded shape. Milk chocolate with just a scooch of soft black. And I'm mostly going in my dark areas, okay? I might bring this down just a little bit because when we add our ice cream on here, it might come down past this a little. So we want that to be a little more shadowed there. And I'm going to put just a little bit of this down at the bottom. Give the bottom a little bit more weight to it. And that is looking pretty good. I'm going to take this all the way over to the edge. That is going to be our darkest area. Now you can grab a smaller brush to do some of these areas. Alright, I'm going to take a look. I think I want to darken a little bit around my fingers. That one, I'm going to be painting over some of that shadow because I got that crazy high. So just repeat where you feel like you need to add that little bit darker. Because we've got to add our highlight on here yet. We definitely want our cone to look more rounded, so I think I might take that honey brown and bring it out just a little bit where that milk chocolate, and bring it around the cone a little bit more. Load it up with plenty of water in my brush, and maybe bring this out a little more. Bring it out into the cone just a little bit more. So our lightest part is mostly going to be in the center. Alright, let's start adding some highlight on here and finish this cone up. Okay, let's add our first highlight on our cone, and we're going to use that almondine that we used to create our lines with. And we're going to go up here. We want our edge of our cone to look a little... We don't want it to be perfect, so try not to make it perfect. So I've got a very damp brush here. I'm thinning my paint, and I'm going to create a little jagged edge, then use my finger and pull that down. Okay, that's like dry brushing with your finger. Just use the tip of your finger and pull that down. So it doesn't leave a super sharp edge on there. Okay? We want to dry brush in the center, but we have to get that dry first. And then I'm going to just take this brush and load it up and then offload where there's hardly any paint left in my brush. And we'll just dry brush a little bit down the center. Don't worry about the fingers. Don't worry about the fingers. Okay? I want to rinse my brush. I'm going to add a little tiny highlight up here on this edge. Okay, don't worry about getting in your background. You can touch that up with some black paint when we're all done. A little bit more down here. Okay, I want to dry that, and then we're going to brighten it with just some white. highlight is going to be pretty easy. We don't have to stress too much. So let's add some white out. And we'll add a little brighter highlight. And again, this will be like our second shading that we did. It won't be everywhere. Okay, it's just going to be a few places. Again, we're going to take it along that edge. Maybe bring it out a little bit more than we did that original one. Or we might come back with our almondine and widen that highlight just a little bit. Again, I'm not doing every place here. I'm going to get the moisture out of my brush and grab some white and put it in there, tap it off, and we're going to dry brush down this cone here. Just a quick bright little highlight. I think I'm going to widen my highlight here on the edge, kind of like I did when I did the over here. I think I'm going to mix some of this base color in. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Let's see. Let's see how this looks, because I need my highlight to be just a little bit wider here. I'll just stay out of that dry brushed highlight down the center. And just bring that down a little bit. We don't want it on the edge over here. Let's keep it off the edge. That's our shadow edge. Alright, that's given us a pretty good little edge there. Where's my... Okay, I think that's a pretty fun edge. I'm just kind of washing over with that mix of almondine and our base color, because I feel like it's not quite there, and I think I might darken my shadow. So this is where, after you get your highlights and everything on here, you can kind of see where you need to go in there and add some of your color in here. Give yourself a really fun little ice cream cone. I'm going to darken right up here and make sure this is dark right here, because those are going to be our darkest areas that wrap around, and I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to darken, just bring my cone shape out here a little bit, kind of straighten that out. And I think the cone looks pretty good. I might want to dry brush up here just a little bit, so I'm going to get that moisture out of my brush. I think I'll go to my smaller flat brush here. And I'm going to take that almondine, which is what I used first, down here, and remove the paint and just dry brush right through here. Just a little bit. Wipe the brush off, get some white, and remove some of that. Dry brush some white in there. A little bit of highlight there. Okay. It's looking pretty good for our cone edge. Again, you can go in here and do anything that you want with your edge, like where these sections come together. If you want to create a little bit more rigid of a point on these, you can spend as much time as you want on your cone, shaping it and detailing it as much as you want. But I think it looks pretty good. We're just going for a fun little ice cream cone. I don't want to get too stressed out with the details here. We can come back after we get other elements painted and see if we want to darken or highlight, or, you know, adjust any colors that we have on here. Let's start with our hand now. Now our hand is definitely going to probably take 3 coats. We're going to paint it all in even the nails with this base color here. And just use the brush that you need for the area that you are painting. Add a little bit more water to my paint so it flows a little bit better. I'm going to paint every element in on its own. This is how you keep from coming back and adding all those lines in here. Go right up next to your cone here. We're going to be shading all that. We just want to make sure our cone is a good shape. This is really a peachy color here, but it does not translate super peachy when you're painting on top of black. And you can use any color that you want for a flesh tone, mix a color, whatever you've got. I'm going to go to a smaller brush now so I can work on some of these smaller areas. See if this flat one, the small flat I've got out here, see if it will work for me. Put a little bit of this along up here above the nail. Okay, let's go to the next finger. I didn't shape that nail very well. I really need that nail to be a little bit longer than what I painted it. Right there. Just an easy little quick coat here. Not a lot of paint on your brush, but you do have some moisture in your brush so that your paint will move nicely on the surface for you. Okay, I'm going to paint this nail. And then I'll paint these nails. Just a light little coat here. Okay, that's our first quick coat there. Okay, it will definitely take 3 coats. I'm going to go off camera and just get my other 2 coats on this, and then we'll come back. If you need to transfer on any lines after you get your 3 coats on, then go ahead and do that. Okay, well, we're going to start shading on the hand. Now, if you need to add lines back in, this is a good time to do that. So if you need to know your line here, you can just use your line drawing and transfer these lines back on, or just draw them in. We've got a line that's going to come down here, and you can create a little bit of a line there, and then our wrist comes here and here. Okay, we don't have a lot. I'm not going to add tons of detail, just a little bit of shading on here. Okay, so I've got a pinky color out, and I'm going to mix it with my base color. And I'm going to do an equal mix here and see how this looks. Again, you can go to an angle brush to use this, whatever kind of brush you like to do for detail. Now, my lines, I'm going to try not to paint on my lines so that I can erase them. I put them on there for you. I didn't necessarily really need them for me, but I kind of wanted you to see where I was going. So I'm going to go beside them, but try not to go on them. This is an equal mix of color here. Okay, which is not showing up a ton because of that pencil line. So when I erase that line, it will probably show up a little bit more. So I'm just going to get some initial color on here. I'm going to dry it very quickly and then erase those lines. This will give you a better idea of what we're working with. And hopefully you can see that. And I got paint on that one, so I can't erase it. So we can kind of see where our color is going for placement. Our equal mix here. Okay, we want to go out here on this outer edge. Out here. A little color out there. Go on the bottom of the thumb. And next to the nail. I'm going to go next to the cone. We're going to come in on the wrist here. Maybe a little bit right through there. I'll create that little dip that's in the wrist right there. Come along the bottom edge of the wrist, or the hand here. I'll put a little bit through here. Just create a little darker area in there. This is so light, it's not showing up a lot. I do not have a ton of paint on my brush. When I work it into my brush, I'm working it in with the water that's in my brush, so that's keeping it a little more thin. We're going to go ahead and put some out here and along this edge. We're going to go around our nail. Now this is where you might want to go to a smaller brush. Your fingernails, you can paint any color that you want. So, okay, so we're getting some good, that's our first shading. I know it's not super showing up here. Let me adjust this light. Try a different color to see if you can see it a little bit better. It's just a slight color change. It's not a big, huge change, okay? It's just a slight change in our color. So these lines that I couldn't erase because I got paint on them, I'm going to go back to my base color and cover those up. So that we don't see those. So they're here. Alright, I'm going to grab a different brush so that I can paint the nails. So I'm just going to use that color that we just shaded with, just straight. going to see how this looks. I don't even know if I'll like it, but I'm thinking I'll just do a soft pink nail here. So I'm just going to paint the nail in with this pink color. It's the pure paint here. You can leave it lighter on the tip for more of a French tip. I might go for that. Why not? Let's be creative. Goodness. We'll keep it more pink at the base of the nail. Let's see, that nail looks like it goes up through here. So I need to adjust that shading because I didn't quite get it where it needs to be. So I'm going to take this down close to the bottom. We're going to French tip it. French tip it. Why not? That's an easy nail to paint. Let me mix my mix here and get this up to the nail bed. Alright, we're going to go back over some of our shading areas. We're going to take that mix again, that 1-to-1 mix. We don't want this to get overly dark. And we're going to darken a few places, like next to the cone. That will be a dark area. Okay, underneath here will be darker, a little bit through here. We're just going to do some hit and miss kind of places here. We're not going to fill in everything. Just get some shadows, a little bit bolder shadows here, I guess I should say. We've still got our highlights to put on here, so we're looking pretty good with our shadows. I think you can see that a lot better now. I'm going to get a second layer on the nails and then we'll start adding some highlights on here. So the nails are just the straight paint that we mixed for our shading color, and we're going to keep it at the base of the nail. Just do a fun little manicure, why not? Okay, I think you're starting to see things a little bit better now, so that's very helpful. So we're going to get ready to start adding our highlights. Okay, let's take our white and our base color and we're going to mix it like we did for the cone here. Let's do a 1-to-1 mix here. And we'll start adding some highlights on here. So again, just create a few highlights, a few highlight areas where we can, maybe down the center of the wrist here, you can add a little highlight on there. I'm going to do the top edge of the nails, or the fingers, with this. And then we're also going to do along this edge. Okay, getting some nice little first highlights on there. A little bit right here. Okay, we're going to repeat that. Just be loose about it. Loosey, loosey, loosey. We're going to repeat it with just white now. So rinse your brush out and let's put just white on our brush. And we'll just brighten up some highlights. And this white will fade in there a little bit, so don't expect it to stand on top. But it will give us a nice little pop. We can come back and brighten this if we need to, so don't stress out about it. Just take what's left in your brush and kind of slap it in there somewhere. Okay? Alright, let's do the tips of the nails. I'm just going to go with white. We'll see how this is going to look. I don't know if it's even going to show up enough for it to look like a French tip nail, but we're going to go for it. We'll obviously have to do the white a couple of times. I think I'll have to darken my nail bed a little bit. And I'll have to do that with a darker color. So we've got some pink that we're going to be using in the ice cream. So let me put a little bit of this color out and we'll just darken the nail bed just a little bit. See how this is going to look. Just a little wash of some of this brighter pink. So we can kind of see the nail a little separate from the skin, hopefully. I'm going to go back in with that white. Let me dry that real quick. If your white wants to fade down in there a lot, then you'll probably have to do this 3 times, but that's okay. 3 times, if that's what it takes, then let's do it 3 times. Of course, you can paint your nails solid color. So now I've got my nails on here. I can see I need to shade just a tiny bit more on the cone itself. So that French tip manicure is not showing up as much as I would like. So I'm going to go back to that brighter pink. And we're going to put some of that on here. And blend it down. Blend it down to that white. So we can start with that base color. We can start with that base color that we used on here, but then we're going to have to come back with this brighter pink and add that on there. I'm going to go a little bit darker shading around the fingers on the cone. Darker shading on the skin next to the cone. That needs to be a little bit darker. So where the cone is on top of the hand, we're going to take that base color, or that shading color, and I kind of want to darken it. I don't know if honey brown's going to work for me. Might make it too orangey. Let's see how this works. Okay, this is just a tiny little bit of honey brown in here, mixed in with that shading color. which was blush pink. So blush pink and a tiny little bit of honey brown. So I really want this next to the cone. Right up to that cone. I don't want to see any line in between or any light area there. Okay. And then just paint your nails in as many times as you want. Like I said, if you want it to be a solid color nail, then certainly go for that. I kind of like the idea of a French tip nail. I think it's fun. I do need to highlight on the fingers a little bit more, so I'm going to take some white and do a little highlight on here. Shading color. Our first initial shading color. Okay, just play around with it. I take whatever's left in my brush when I'm doing shading and highlighting, and I just put it on there. Just dry brush it wherever it needs to go and create some character in my painting. You know, just move it around. Just give it that fun little look. Okay, I think we're done with the hand. Let's paint our first ice cream in here. This will be vanilla ice cream when we're done with it, hopefully. And so we're basing in with this almondine color, which we've used in quite a few places on here already. And your ice cream doesn't have to be smooth on the edges. We want it to look like ice cream. Take a couple of coats. We're going to do each flavor of ice cream separately. So I'm going to get this dry and apply a second coat. Okay, I've got my 2 coats on here. So let's add just a few little places of some shading kind of on here. And then we'll add some highlight just to create some little, I don't know, texture and fun stuff in our ice cream. So we're just going to create some little, you know, like your ice cream has different kind of, I don't want to say layers, but kind of like little textures in here. I think I'm going to mix my base color with this so it's not quite so, okay, that's not dark enough. We just want to, I think a 1-to-1 little mix here is going to be good. I'm going to go ahead and put some of this as some shadow underneath this one, so when we paint it in, we've already got our shadow working here. This is a 1-to-1 mix of our base color and some honey brown. And maybe a little texture down here. Just, you know, so a few little places. We don't have to get crazy carried away here. Some of those are a little dark, but we're gonna lighten them up with some highlight. I'm gonna do this a second time with just a touch more honey brown in there. Not too much. We want this to be vanilla ice cream here. We're going to dry brush some white on here and get it looking a little more vanilla-y. You could go, I think I'll probably mix the almondine and the white with this when we start adding some highlights on here. So let me grab some white out here, some fresh white actually. We're going to do a little bit of highlighting, maybe some dry brushing on here. So we want this to look like vanilla ice cream, and vanilla is not, well, most vanilla is not white. I mean, if you get it a soft serve ice cream, it's definitely white. But I'm not really going for that look. So I'm going to use my flat brush here, and I'm first going to mix the almondine and the white. Let's get an equal mix of that. I'm going to take some of that off of my brush. And first we're going to start creating a little bit of lightness above these areas where we created this little bit of maybe darker sections of our ice cream. Okay, we're going to put this on the edge as well. We're going to make some melting part of our ice cream here. And then I'm just going to take what's left in my brush and just tap it in. And create some lighter areas. Create that look of some vanilla ice cream. If your little shadowy areas got a little dark, then you can kind of tap right over them, okay? Kind of push them back in there. That's going to give it that little bit more ice cream look. I want to paint some melting ice cream on here. I think I drew some kind of melting areas on here. It's coming off of the vanilla, but you can also, when we come up here and do these other flavors of ice cream, okay, focus, we may have some melting stuff going on, but I really only drew for this one. So I'm going to take my almondine. I'll look at my line drawing and reference it so that it can be as close to the drawing as possible. And I'm just going to create a little bit of melting here. Thin my paint so it flows off a little bit easier. We'll shade a little bit around this so that it looks more natural. So this, I'm going to wipe my brush off so that it stays a little bit lighter next to the ice cream itself. I want it to look a little bit more like it's kind of come off of there, and I'm thinning my paint just a little bit with some water, and then I think we'll have a little, not sure if this is going to match my line drawing here, but you know what, it's melting ice cream. Just kind of do your thing and make it look how you want it to look, okay? Just kind of have some fun with it. Okay, that's just the almondine. I'm going to go back over it so that's a little bit more opaque, especially right here coming off that edge. And a little bit more here on this edge. I want to make sure it connects with my ice cream here. And we'll definitely highlight on these. We're going to highlight on our frosting, on our ice cream up here again. We kept a good amount of shading underneath our ice cream here, so we are pretty good there, but I am going to shade around those that I just drew, and I'm going to do that mix that we did for our shading mix. And get a little bit of dark stuff going on here. Let's see, no, I used soft black is what I used. Soft black and the milk chocolate for my darkest shading. And it was just that tiny, tiny little bit of soft black in there. Just really tightly going around this. I don't want this to be a huge wide float here. Just a little controlled on there. Okay, that looks pretty good. We'll put our first little highlight on there, which I'm just going to put some white on there. And we've got everything caught up then. This is just white. Okay, that's looking pretty good. We got another little highlight to put on here, and then I would probably darken a little bit back here, just a scooch, and then we'll be ready to move on to our next flavor. Okay, let's do a little bit more white on our cone. We're going to do that dry brushing thing. Highlight a little bit more on some of these areas. Ooh, kind of down that the edge here. We want to give it this little bit of sparkle. I'm using a very large brush here, so you may want to go to a much smaller brush than what I've got to do yours. And then I'm just going to dry brush on here. Create some lighter areas on our ice cream, brighten that up, give it vanilla look. I do want to darken just a touch in that V area right there. So with that, I'm going to take my milk chocolate and a little tiny bit of soft black like we used down here on the cone. And let's get this area a little bit darker right through here. That'll be our darkest area, so we want to make sure that we get a little bit more shadow under there. We can come back after we paint our ice cream other flavors in and do them. We're going to move on to the strawberry ice cream, and then we'll do the chocolate. I think the chocolate will be on top. So let's get ready to paint it in. Alright, we're going to paint in with 2 coats of cotton candy, and I may add some white to this. So let me grab some white out. I think it's a little bit lighter pink. I don't know, we may stick with the cotton candy, but it's going to take 2 or 3 coats like it did on the hand, so I want to make this a little bit irregular here, sitting on top of that one. We don't want a perfect little shape here. I came outside of my shape quite a bit here. So you just do whatever appeals to you. I want it to be a little bit more rounded at the top to actually look like a scoop of ice cream, and that didn't work out so well. A little more rounded on the top of the scoop, kind of like I did over there. There we go. That looks more like a scoop of ice cream. So I'm going to get this dry and apply 2 more coats. I think I'm going to stick with just the straight cotton candy, no white mixed in with it. And hopefully that will be a nice base coat pink here. Okay, I've got my 2 layers of cotton candy on there. Do 3 if yours is not giving you a good enough opaque coverage. So we're going to take our cactus flower, which is what we use down here on the nails, and we're going to do what we did here, create some little textures and areas on our ice cream. I'm going to do an equal mix of that color, and it's not going to show up, so maybe a 2-to-1 mix. There we go. 2-to-1 mix here. And just create some little layer areas, or some, it's not really layer areas, it's kind of where the ice cream is maybe a little bit thicker and we can see a little bit of texture, you know, in our ice cream. I don't know how else to tell you that. I mean, you can really go crazy by adding some of this texture in here, by adding little bumps and stuff into our ice cream. Giving it a little bit more. Let me see if I turn this light out. I'm not sure that made much difference, but we'll go with that. And so I'm just a little bit on the corner, and I'm just kind of tapping some in here. Create a little bit of texture in the top of our ice cream, okay? And then we've got some texture down here. All right, so now we're going to do that dry brushing highlight like we did down here. We're going to mix our white and our base color together and get a lighter color and get that all looking ice creamy. Let's do a mix here. 1-to-1, and we'll see if this is going to be light enough. I don't think it's going to be quite light enough. So I loaded my brush, and then I removed most of the paint out of my brush. And I'm first going to start here with these little line areas that I kind of created, and put a little highlight edge on them, like that. Okay, I'm going to kind of wipe my brush off a little bit. I had a little bit on there, and then I'm going to dab some of this up here where we dab some of that darker color. Wipe my brush, and now I'm just going to very loosely put some of this on all of our ice cream. Need to put some at the top edge. Start giving some little bright highlight up here. We'll create a little bit of melted. That's going to be a shadow edge there because the chocolate's going to kind of sit on top of this. So just tap that texture in there. After you get that little bit of highlight on those edges, we're going to tap some texture in here. Okay, we're going to come back and repeat that. I want to go ahead and make my melting ice cream though. So let's put a little bit of melted stuff on here. Maybe a little bit coming down off of here. Keep it a little bit lighter where it's close to the ice cream itself. Okay. Maybe we'll have a little drip. This is not drawn on the line drawing, but I'm going to create a little bit of a drip starting here. A little bit of ice cream drip. So let me get a second layer on there. And maybe there's some melting going on here. I'm not sure I like that one. I do need a third place, but I'm not really liking that. there. So I'm just going to remove it with a damp brush. And maybe we'll just make an extra area here where it's kind of, ooh, okay, a lot of paint. It's kind of maybe extra drip right through here. It's coming down a little bit lower. Now we can't really see that because we don't have any shading underneath it or highlighting on top of it. So before I go and shade that, I want to get a little bit of shading up there. I'm going to quickly add this second layer on here. Okay. Alright, so let's take that color that we mixed there and put our shading underneath right through here, because that chocolate's going to set a little bit on top of this. When we paint it in, we're going to make it look like it's setting a little bit more on there than what it's kind of drawn there. So just a little bit of that color there. Okay, so let's do our highlight again. That was that white and our base color. I'm going to use a little bit less of the base color this time, a little bit more white. Alright, let's give a little highlight on our, come down our drip. I'm going to have to touch up my black background there. Get that little bit of highlight on there. We'll come around and shade that. A little highlight down here. And then I'm just going to dry brush what's left in my brush. Maybe get a tiny bit more. And put this on here. Wipe a little bit of that off. And you can layer this ice cream as much as you want to. I really just want it to look a little textury. And then let's shade underneath our ice cream. Let's do that milk chocolate color. So we want to go around our little dribbles here. Put a little bit more white. A little bit more white on that edge, I think. I probably will darken that up a little bit, but let's add a little bit more white on some of these edges. I'm not worried about my black background. Now repeat your white as many times as you feel like you need to. And I'm not going to go every place, but I do want to have a little bit more pop of white. Okay. Dab, dab, dab. What's left? I'm just going to dab it. Maybe a little of that pink back in there in our little dribbles, because I kind of lost some of that pink in there. It's our base color. Of course, then I'll touch up my black in the outside here. So those drips are probably not on the line drawing. I'll try to remember to add those because I'm going to get a little bit darker in our shadow area. Just right there. Maybe a couple of more places on the ice cream itself. I'm going to give it more of that strawberry look. Okay, just tap that on there. We're just tapping color. We're not nothing technical here, so don't get stressed out. Okay, the color I want to use for the chocolate ice cream is Mississippi Mud. So we'll start with this color. Now I'm going to take this scoop over that pink one and just create a little bit of texture. I don't want to say texture, but a little bit of not a perfect line. And of course it's going to go over our vanilla here. It's going to be a little bit more of a perfect circle on this one. This scoop is more formed. It looks a lot neater. Your scoops can look how you want them to look. If you get it painted and you don't quite like the shape when you are touching up your background, you can adjust the shape of your ice cream as much as you want. Okay, so I'm going to get a couple of coats on here. It should only take 2 coats of this to cover up that black, and then we'll get going. Okay, while my chocolate is drying, I do want to bring this color here out a little bit more into my ice cream, make it look a little bit more like strawberry ice cream. So I'm just going to kind of walk that out into my ice cream a little bit and make it not quite so light colored. A little more on the pink side so it looks a little bit more like strawberry ice cream. And I think that's looking much better. It was just a thin layer. It's not, I don't have a ton of paint. So I'm keeping it light. I think I'm going to have to darken next to that chocolate there. So I'm going to take my my shading pink and maybe add a tiny little bit of soft black in there. That's going to give me this purpley color. I think it will work better as a shading color. Okay. Touch that back a little bit with my finger. So that was just a tiny little bit of, teeny tiny little bit of soft black blended in there. Out a little bit. A little bit more of that pink color. A bit of a hard line there. I really like that. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Put that little bit of shadow on there with that. Okay, because I don't want to add another color into our list, I am going to use the soft black as my shading color here. So I'm going to mix it with my base color. So I'm going to try a 1-to-1 mix here and see, I think that will be a nice color. And we're going to do the same thing that we did on all of our other ice cream. We're going to create some dark areas. I might have to do a 2 soft black to 1 base color. Just get that a little bit darker. And again, I'm going to dab, 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 tap, tap, tap. Use the water edge of your brush or come back and use your finger. Either way, we're just creating some texture like we did on the strawberry one, just by dabbing this and not being too particular about how it looks. Because we're going to layer this, and when we come back and add more, you know, this layer here will push back quite a ways, so we won't see much of it when we are done. I'm going to go ahead and add my little drip areas on here again. You do not have to do this. I'm not going to make these quite as drippy. Maybe the chocolate's not melting as much, so we're just going to give the chocolate a couple of little drips coming off of it. Okay, it's just starting to get some drippage going on. So a couple of little drips. We'll come back and very tightly shade next to these like we did down here. Like we did these. Very, very, very tightly. I think I might do one more, maybe a little bit of a drip coming here. Okay, 2 coats. You want to cover those up with 2 coats of paint. This is our Mississippi Mud. Alright, I'm just going to take this round brush while I got it, and I'm just going to line my honey brown around this. Just a little bit. That's a little dark. Maybe I won't use the round brush because that's leaving much more of a line than what I want it to be. So let me loosen those up. And we'll try and soften those down just a little bit. This, I'm going to go a little bit more underneath my strawberry here. Strawberry flavor. Get a little bit of that shadow under there. We're looking yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, we're going to add a highlight now on our chocolate. It's going to be very subtle, I hope. Then we're going to come back and layer that darker color and layer our highlight just like we did over here. Okay? Okay, so for our highlight, let's mix some of our base color and some white. And this is going to make a very almost pastel-y color. So I just did a 1-to-1. Okay. So we're going to start with this, and we're just going to very loosely add this in here. Dibby dab, pat pat pat, tap tap tap. I don't have much paint on my brush. The majority of it came off when I first started because I wiped out the paint after I loaded my brush. I just want a light texture in here. You can make your ice cream chocolate chip ice cream if you want to. It's really whatever you like. Okay. Let me come back in here with a little bit of brighter tapping up here because I want to create some layers here, so I want to have a little bit of different stuff going on. Okay, that looks pretty good for our first layer. I know, first layers look rough, don't they? Okay, I'm going to repeat those steps, especially this dabbing step up here. just using my larger flat brush in the corner of it and creating some darker areas. That's the soft black and the Mississippi mud. 2 soft black, 1 Mississippi mud. Okay. Let's give a little bit of darkness on those drips, and I'll put a little bit of this over here. A little bit of a darker edge on our ice cream. And kind of work that over a little bit. Okay, give it that little bit of darkness. Okay, that was a lot of paint. Wipe off, and then I'll just take what I put here and work that into the ice cream. That's a little bit of that darker mix. We just want to make sure that we have varying values on our ice cream. Okay, that was the dark layer. Now I'm going to go again with that light layer, which was the Mississippi mud and the Snow White. That 1-to-1 mix. We'll come back with some brighter white here in just a second. I'm going to create some lighter areas on here. Let's give a little bit of lightness to this edge here. Highlight top of the ice cream. Dab, dab, dab. I don't have a ton of paint. I've got it just corner loaded. You can go to a smaller brush if you need it. Okay, I'm gonna pull that out. Dab, 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 dab. Let's create some. I'm just dabbing. I'm seriously just dabbing this on here. Just creating some texture in here. Okay, I'll probably come back with that darker dabbing thing, but I need to add a little bit of this color on my drips. Wiped my brush and grabbed some water so I could blend that out a little bit. Get that little bit of lightness going there. Okay, I'm going to create repeat my darker areas in my chocolate because I feel like they need to be darker so the chocolate looks like a little richer chocolate. So let me go with that mix. Black, 2 soft black, 1 Mississippi mud. So I'm really just loosely putting this on here, so we need just a touch more on there. That balanced mix. I really want my chocolate to look more chocolatey, so I'm definitely going to dab and move this around. Okay. And let's get a little brighter highlight on there. And see how we're looking here. My Mississippi Mud and my white. Might do 2 white this time and 1 Mississippi Mud for our final bright highlight here. And I'm just going to put some on here. Very loosely, kind of move it around. Just to create a few brighter areas. We definitely want it brighter where it comes over, because this one's on top here. So we want it to look like it's on top. So a few little brighter edges here. Just kind of tap it on. Use your finger, kind of take it out. Kind of buff it out, I guess I should say. Make it disappear a little bit. Alright, we're going to put some brightness. Just tap what's left of my brush right kind of through the center there. Kind of brighten up that chocolate. I think that's going to look good. Maybe just a touch more white here. I want that to be a little crisper edge. Definitely going to have to shade underneath that. Okay, anytime that you feel like you've gotten way too much lightness on your chocolate ice cream, I'm just going to go back to my base color and tap some of that in here onto those lighter areas and make it look more like chocolate. This is that Mississippi Mud, our final little layer on here. And that might have taken it down just a touch too much. Just a touch. That fine line between not enough shadow and not enough highlight. I'm really going to work that white in to my brush so it's not quite so bright. We'll fade in here quite a bit. Take some milk chocolate and add onto this one. Milk chocolate and mix it with some soft black, I think. And we'll see what we can get with this. This might give us that little bit of look of chocolate that I'm really wanting to have on this. Just a little bit of dry brushing. If it's not covering your highlight well, then put a little tiny bit of water in your brush. And I'm going to go just a touch darker. Like I did on the pink. strawberry flavor and just kind of darken that up just a little bit. A little bit more chocolatey. Make sure we've got a good shadow underneath here. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Maybe just one more. I just can't quite get that highlight the way I want it to look on the chocolate. This is a mix of white and I think honey brown. Could be like Rocky Road. Could be like Rocky Road. And then I'm going to take my black. This is a mix of soft black and honey brown. I'm going to take my black and touch up my background. That chocolate, I had to really work for that chocolate, didn't I? Hopefully for you it won't be so stressful. Let me get some black out so I can touch up my background, because I think that's going to finish up this. So just a little bit. And then find any areas that you maybe got out of lines. Lost your shape. Clean up. That's all we're doing. We're just cleaning up here. I think I already cleaned up on the hand area. I think we're looking pretty good. Wide angle out here and take a look at it. Make sure we're happy with everything. See if there's anything that we want to change. So let's take a look at it. Wide angle out. Well, I don't know. I think that looks pretty good. Looks like 3 flavors of ice cream to me. Looks good. And again, you can make your flesh color any color that you want. Maybe a little bit more white on our vanilla ice cream so it can look more bright. Just dab in a few places. Bring out a little bit of brightness in there. Wipe off my excess and maybe dab a little bit in here. And then our chocolate, I'm just not sure what to do about the chocolate. I'm not sure I want to dab any white in here. Clean up my background again. Just a little bit. We'll just do a little bit. I had to work hard for that chocolate. I don't want to mess it up. I felt like I really had to work hard for that. Touch up my background again. Okay, well, let me come back and show you the changes that I made, because I was not liking the one note I had here for the hands. So I came back in and applied a couple of coats of a cinnamon drop on the nails and then just a white highlight. That's all I did to change them. I didn't do anything else. And then I took a mix of the cinnamon drop and the cactus flower, 2 cactus flower, 1 cinnamon drop, and did a wash and applied it over my strawberry ice cream. I think that, makes the ice cream look so much more like ice cream, And I'm considering doing the same thing with a wash on my vanilla with the almondine. Just a wash of it to make it look a little more vanilla color. A wash is not going to take away our highlights or anything like that. I'm going to keep it out of my shadow color, but it will give it that little bit more of a yellowy, I hope, of vanilla ice cream. So those were the changes that I made. I did do another little wash of the milk chocolate and soft black on here. And then the highlight of, what did I use? I used honey brown and white, I think. May have had a little bit of milk chocolate in there, but to try and even the tone out of the chocolate. I just really struggled with that chocolate ice cream. You'll see in the video. So it is crazy, but this is how the end product will be. We will not get there until the very end. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.